All right, velkommen alle sammen. We have a very special guest today. It's Karin from Rune Guidance of the Norse. We've known each other quite a long time, and she has some experience in a lot of different aspects. I cover more of the sources, but she is someone who is actually practicing it and has a long tradition of it. So we've got a great interview for today. So thank you for coming, Karin.
Uh, Thank you for having me.
Yeah, sounds good. So we're speaking about Trolldom today. What for the general viewer that has maybe not heard of it before, what would you say Trolldom is?
So, the classic definition of trolldom is the folk magical and healing practices of Scandinavia. And that includes a very broad paintbrushing of ideas, but there is at the core a traditional and classical way that it is taught and passed on generation to generation.
Yeah, and that's kind of that leads on to the next question too. How would you go about learning this if people are interested? Is it kind of a private community, or are there books or a larger tradition that they could search online to learn about this, or what's the best way to go about that?
Yeah, actually, it is kind of difficult. It's a little more accessible nowadays, since my mentor put out this book in 2015, I believe, and that's Johannes Gorbeck. Um, it is not a closed practice. Anyone can learn trolldom. Anyone can be a practitioner of trolldom, but you do need to learn it from someone who is steeped in the tradition. And it's kind of well, it is a spoken rule truly in trolldom that you don't actually teach it until your mentor has kind of given you the okay. It's just a matter of respect to the tradition, to who you learned it from, and the way we pass it on. So hopefully that makes sense.
What this is the main question, main topic that we were going to cover today, and we can speak about this for a while. But the main question is, how do we date? What kind of these thralldom practices can we date back to the Viking Age, or even much before the Viking Age? And even going back similar to the most ancient times, hunter-gatherer type practices around the world. What kinds of things can we see there? I have a few that I can list too, but you can go ahead and start anything that you feel that we know was done much older than, say, the 1500s.
Yeah. Well, I guess trolldom in the way that it's written down, as you said, started in the medieval times. That's when it was written down because that's when people started to write things down. But that's not when it was created, and that's not how when it started, right? So people before that, everything was done orally. We had a huge oral tradition, and we still really do have a huge oral tradition. This is incredibly frustrating to people who can't seem to understand that because they don't have relationships with people or with their ancestors to understand that people shared things. So many people don't even know their grandparents' name, which blows my mind, but it's just how it is, at least over here in the West, as opposed to, other parts of the world. But yeah, I think that the basis for these things going way back, and in trolldom, something that might actually carry over, well, we know carries over, is the traditions and the rituals that you would find in the thing. The thing is, there are certain rituals that are done in trolldom today that were done in pre-Christian Scandinavia and before things were written down. Taking hazel branches and putting them in the ground and encompassing the area that the thing would take place. That's still a huge thing in trolldom, working with hazel twigs and making boundaries. Another thing, if someone was called to the thing, there was a which we call stemma. Stemma is justice needs to be served to someone, and the thing's going to call them, the thing being a council of wise leaders who would pass the laws and pass the judgments on things. They need
And
to
these were
call
also
somebody.
sacred places too, right? They
Yeah,
were, and we know that
exactly.
from the sagas and older sources too. That's one thing we
Yes,
can know for sure. They had
yes.
their meetings and also their rituals, like whether it be law or some sacred spiritual practice. They had them in the same places.
Yes, and it's the same places that people go to today in Trolldom, the rock pits and sacred
Mm.
groves, these things, and they're the same places. And we know this by the place names that the ancient ones met at. So something that would carry over, for instance, calling somebody to the thing, executing judgment, and tema would be you first go to their bedpost and tell them that they're wanted to be seen. Then you would pronounce it again in their doorway or their threshold, and then you'd announce it again once they came to the thing. This is something that is still done in Trolldom today. This is carried over from that ancient time, a kind of an unbroken line of certain rituals that take place, even
Mm.
though it's not written down.
Mm. Yeah, and I mean, if in Scandinavia and other places in Europe too, people are a bit lucky with that because we know where these sacred places were, where a lot of these old burial sites, a lot of these old mounds and groves and waterfalls and wells, springs, all these things that we know were actually sacred places in pagan
Yeah.
times. We have records of this. But what would you say to some people who are living in other places in the world, like us in America right now? How would someone go about finding the proper places so that they would get the most from?
I think, that's a really good question. It's something that I grapple with a lot with people living in America. And I know, I mean, I've been back and forth to Sweden and Norway so many times over my lifetime. And you find rune stones erected on the side of the road when you're going to pick mushrooms. It's so easy there. I think this is where we get a lot of conflict with people in other traditions where they're like, hey, that sacred area is part of our culture, our
Mm.
tradition. Why are you attracted to it? Because our our traditional people were not here until 100 years ago or 200 years ago, apart from the Vikings that came before Christopher Columbus. But you know what I mean. I grew up in Niagara Falls. That is a frickin' sacred place. I don't care if you're an indigenous lineage to the Americas or not. There is no way you can be in Niagara Falls and not feel it. And that's because Earth is for everybody. Tree spirits are for everyone. They, you know what I mean? So you have still so much here in the Americas that you can view as sacred. I have a pond behind my house, which I post about all the time. I have an alligator, a physical alligator that lives there that is a protective spirit. I speak to those spirits. I give them offerings. It's not listed anywhere that this is a sacred site, but I know it's a sacred site. I think part of this again goes back to feeling and tradition and being around something that just strikes you like, why is that pile of rocks there? I don't know, but I'm attracted to it. You have to be in touch with yourself. And that gives you the ability to then listen and connect. You wouldn't just walk into somebody's house and not acknowledge them and just, plop yourself down and start doing your thing. That's somebody else's house. What are you doing? It's the same thing with nature, no matter where you are. Observe it, be mindful of it. Who is here? What spirits are here? What animals? What energies? And so just basically not being selfish and think outside of yourself at other things. And those things will be shown to you. And maybe that's kind of woo-woo sounding, but I really believe that that's the truth. You don't have to be in Scandinavia to connect with nature. It should be wherever you are because you are an earthling.
Mm.
Does that sound okay?
Yeah, makes complete sense. You touched on it a little bit there. So most people, even your name included, so I'm assuming to the runes. This is something we can date back to pagan times. We know they were used for various spiritual and magical purposes. How does that relate to Trolldom, and how often does that show up in that tradition?
I don't see how you can separate trolldom from not working with runes, because trolldom connects us, and this is why it's so important. It connects us to what maybe little magical practices we do know, and there's more than people realize from the past. Trolldom is the carryover from the vulva, the vitki, the carryover from the ancient ones that were healers, things that remained from them, which we lost so much, and we realize that. But there are some things that remain, and they were preserved in Trolldom. And so runes are one of those things. I am a rune caster by trade. That actually helps pay my bills. And that's different than, pulling a rune out of a bag and, placing it like a tarot card or something. I'm not criticizing that. That's a more contemporary way to relate to that. But what I was taught was traditional casting, and their energies, well, basically, we believe that those symbols are possibly at one time were even sounds and spirits that were then engraved to be able to have some understanding and to communicate to someone else what it meant. That's a whole nother thing, I realize that, but anything magical in Scandinavia, runes included, is going to somehow be rolled into Trolldom, because again, it is the jurisdiction of the magical Scandinavian magic. So they are a big part of that, and it makes me kind of sad to see how runes are used nowadays. But I also understand that people learn from the internet, and they learn from social media. They're not taught the right way, and so in a way, I can't hate on people for what they don't know. They're trying to understand these things, these tools, and we have so many in Trolldom, yes. But yes, they're an important part of Trolldom. I kind of rambled.
No, it's good, and you can see that too in Johannes's book as well. It's not like carving runes, but they have tons of them in there that are they're usually the Latin alphabet, right? But it's the way it's written out and the types of objects it's written on, and some of them are even called like runebrev, rune letter. So it's still there. It's just sometimes more the Latin alphabet is used than runes, but we can still see that in the archaeological finds that runes were used like very late on, up until the 1800s even.
Oh,
so
yes.
Definitely there. Just the kind of explanations are not there like most people want to, like most people are looking for, unfortunately.
Yeah, and thank you for clarifying that. You're exactly right. That's exactly how it is.